Hey everybody, I'm Lzzy Hale from the band Halestorm, and you're watching Heavy Consequence and Consequence of Sound.
What's up? It's Ann Erickson from Heavy Consequence, and I'm very happy to be here with Lzzy Hale of Halestorm. How are you?
Yeah. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for doing this with me. This is exciting. It's great to see your face.
Oh, yeah, it's great to see you, and thank you for doing it. We're really happy to have you on here. And of course, you've got this great record on the way, Back from the Dead. So, first of all, I love that title. I mean, I think it's perfect for what we hope is kind of a post-COVID time. So, I'm wondering, how did that title come about?
Well, what's funny? It kind of slipped out. I was doing some writing with my good bud and also our co-producer, Scott Stevens, and it happened. And then it's going to sound silly, but like I was like, oh, that's so dumb. It's so like on the nose. That is so exactly like what exactly what I hope that I would say if we ever get back on stage again. So I'm just like, that's just so funny. Like, and so, wrote the song and then kind of kept that title in the back pocket, as in like, that would be a really good album title. But then we kept trying to beat it, and just nothing was that like on the nose, like exactly what we needed to say. So, but so yeah, it wasn't going away as being the album title. But yeah, I don't know. The title to me is survival. It's just after everything that personally that I've been through, that we've been through as a band, that everybody else that I can think of, millions and millions of people have gone through those ups and downs. Just being able to kind of have faith that things are going to return to I'm not even hoping things turn back to normal. I just want to keep moving forward. Let's keep evolving, let's keep moving. And so the beautiful thing about that particular title and the song, because we've actually gotten to be out on the road for a couple tours and actually play that song, is that I see it in everybody. And there's so many people that have the lines of the song tattooed on them already, and the album isn't even out yet. So it's fulfilling to know that what you were feeling when you were writing these songs, and writing specifically that song, what you were feeling was valid, and that there were so many other people that felt that too, because we're all, I don't know, we're all able to, like, I'm able to stand on stage, everyone's able to stand up with their fists in the air in the audience, be like, we are here and we're on the other side and we're all in this together. We're celebrating the return of this, like, this happy place that we all have. And I don't know, that back and forth is just beautiful. And because I've been talking a lot about how I've been, I wrote this song from a personal place, but I think by writing it from that core and from that personal place, you realize, like I said, that I wasn't alone in anything I was feeling, like there were so many people that were feeling the same thing. So it's great to see the truth in that, and that reflected in the response from the audience.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's so relatable. And one track that really stood out for me was My Redemption. So I'm wondering, can you kind of tell me about the story behind that one?
Yeah, that one, I ended up bringing into, the studio for a writing session, and it was something I needed to say. I guess kind of off the heels of many years ago, wrote a song called I Am the Fire, in order to kind of remind myself that I'm the only, one that can kind of save me. And this was kind of a skip off of that, because I really needed to kind of say that to myself again. There were a couple times during the pandemic where I was kind of going through a little bit of an identity crisis. Like, I didn't really know who I was without all of this, and without the live show, and without my bandmates and the camaraderie of that, and all of these little things and these tools and these weapons in my arsenal, that I am able to combat some of that darkness that creeps into my life. And so when you realize that you're the only one that is ever going to get in your way, nobody can stop you from doing what you're doing except for you. and you're the only one that can save you from all of that, you know, those feelings and that darkness and that hole that you dig for yourself all the time. And I found myself really needing to write my redemption in that way as a reminder to myself that I got this. It's going to be okay. And, you know, and I don't need anything that, you know, I don't need to keep waiting for something to kind of tap me on the shoulder and snap me out of it. I have to snap myself out of it. And that's the beautiful thing about music, is because even though me as a person, like without being a writer or a rock star, I will sit there and be like, I want someone to tell me everything's going to be okay. You know, I want someone to tell me what to do, you know, and then when you realize that's not really going, you know, first of all, that doesn't need to happen, but that's not going to happen. I have to kick myself in the butt and be like, all right, I have to write about this. You know, something that I learned during the pandemic was that is still is something that I use to put all the messy puzzle pieces in my head together. And once I wrote that song for my redemption, it was almost like you're able to kind of put it aside and be like, all right, I figured something out there. And now I'm going to be able to sing this song and remind myself again, whenever that happens, you know, that it's going to be okay. And that I told myself it's going to be okay. Nobody else decided that for me. So yeah, that was a song I definitely needed to write during this whole thing. But yeah, but it's a banger of a song, and I love the riffage to it. I do have this image in my head where if we end up doing a video, maybe do it like as a Western. You know,
That'd be awesome. I love it.
I'm gonna want to ride a horse, I think. That's a side note, but we'll see if that actually happens.
That's awesome. That's very powerful too, to write a song like that and then kind of conquer it and be able to share it with people.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I didn't, that again, I think I knew inherently, but I kind of rediscovered the why I write and all of that, and the reason that, like, oh, I actually need to do that. And then yes, you do get that validation, you know, when you release the music and then you see so many people that either see themselves in it, and or a line helps change their course of thinking. And so it makes you feel, you know, like whatever that was going on inside of you, that had a purpose, you know, and that was, you were meant to go through that. So yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah. So Hailstorm, you guys have been touring way longer than most people realize. So when did you start? Because I know, you know, obviously you have family in the band, and I know that you guys were out there at a very young age.
Yeah, we started the band when I was 13, and my brother was almost 11, so he was 10. My brother, who, for those of you who don't know, is also my drummer. And we started because he was always so good at playing drums. He was kind of born right out of the womb, like ready to go. And so I shortly realized that I could just write these silly songs and he could play to them, and then now we're a band. But we had our first show in 1997, summer 1997, at the Schuylkill County Fair in Pennsylvania. You know, it was a talent show, so we had to sign ourselves up, and we're driving in the family van to go and do this show, our first real show outside of our parents' living room. And like, so we're not playing for, like, you know, family members, we're going to play for strangers now. And we had one song that we had chosen, that we had written, which was like 4 minutes long with a drum solo in the middle of it, because why not? Time was not of our concern back in those days. And it was called Love is Power. And we were driving the family van, and little bro, being the annoying little bro that he sometimes was like, Lzzy, we can't go up there as Lzzy and RJ. I'm like, well, why not? And he's like, cause we need a band name. And I'm like, it's just the two of us right now. It's like, we're not even a band yet, you know, because in my mind, you have to have like 4 members to be like a band, you know, this is before the White Stripes and all that. So finally he like wore me down, and I'm like, fine, what do you want to call it? And so we went back and forth with a couple things, and he finally was like, well, what about Halestorm? Because our last name is Hale. So I'm like, okay, that'll work for today. So we signed ourselves up as Halestorm, and we went up and we did it, and we ended up getting like a third place trophy, you know, which I still hold near and dear. It sits right next to the Grammy. It's very, very important. It's a little plastic trophy that says Schuylkill County Fair 1997, third place. And but we did lose to the tap dancing cowgirl, who was much cuter than we were. But I remember, so what sparked it though is that then that night we were at the dinner table eating chicken and mashed potatoes. I still remember what we were eating, which is really creepy of me. But I was telling my parents, and just like, it was such an incredible feeling. Like, we were shaking after it, you know. We're just like, do you think like you guys know another place we could play? So we basically like just implored our parents to like help us get gigs and like call around. And we had my mom pretend she was our manager so that it wouldn't seem like we were just these like dopey kids like trying to get shows. And then my brother, I'll never forget it, my brother, like, with a mouthful of mashed potatoes, he's like, well, I still get to play drums with you though, right, sis? I'm like, yeah, we're a band, you know? And like his 10-year-old self, he like wrote out this whole like contract where it's like, I, RJ, am going to be, you know, in the band Halestorm with my sister, you know, Lzzy Hale, you know, and it's going to be the best band ever. And it's like, he's like signed it. I still have the note up in my boxes somewhere. So like, we started at a young age. I digress. Sorry. It's been 25 years since that year. So like, I've been thinking a lot about how I've been going down memory lane a lot, but yeah, we started and we never stopped. And we had my dad in the band as a bass player for a while. And then over the course of a summer, you know, when you're like 15, 16, you're like, well, it was really cool that dad was in the band, but now we kind of want to look for people our own age. You know, it's like, now it's not cool to have dad in the band. So we had to sit dad down and be like, you know, he's like, well, can I still come to the gigs? I'm like, yeah, we can't, you're still going to have to drive the van. And like, he did sound for a while. And then we finally found Joe and Josh, and it like became just the band, you know. And our parents were still kind of touring with us for a while, even after we got signed. I was our manager who came up to us like, I really like love your parents' demeanor, and maybe see what happens if you like take them out for a little while. I think honestly it was just mainly our management was like, let's keep these kids out of trouble. If parents are around, they won't be doing a bunch of stuff. It's true. Although we did get into a lot of trouble, they just didn't know it. But yeah, so I don't know, we just kept moving and kept growing and kept spiraling out and kept asking questions. And you know, I always tell young people, if they're, you know, how do I get started? Well, you just have to go. Like, we didn't know anything about the business. We only half knew how to play our instruments at the time, you know, but as you dive head first into the shark tank, you have to figure it out. That survival thing kicks in. And all we ever wanted to do was say, well, what happens next? How far can we take this? And we're still doing that. We're like, okay, how far can we take this? Can we keep going in this direction? You know, are we going to keep climbing? So, you know, it's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, no, that's such a great story. And what's next for you? I remember hearing that maybe you were thinking about acting a little bit. The last time we talked, you mentioned that.
I've been dabbling. You know, I ended up, I haven't gotten any roles for like specific movie things yet, but I am doing a lot of different things that involve having the ability to act, you know, for, you know, I'm doing some things with my Gibson people, little commercial things. And I've taken a stab over the past couple of years at being the interviewer versus the interviewee, and also the host of a couple different shows. So it's kind of interesting to just kind of step outside of what you are on stage. Obviously use those tools that you've learned how to be in front of people and how to put on certain different things. That's part of the reason why I love music videos, because you kind of get to do those roles without actually like having to do a whole a whole Hollywood thing. But yeah, I mean, if the right thing came along, I would absolutely say yes, even, you know, and regardless of whether it would be good or whether I would succeed or whether I would fail, it's like, I think that's definitely something that's still in my future. I guess it's part of it. I don't know. What the one thing that I've learned from being in this band is that you do have the ability to step outside of your comfort zone and then make it to the other side, and that's, and it's good to do that with yourself. It's good. I used to be afraid of that when I was a young kid. I didn't want to step outside, or, oh, what if I offend somebody? What if I hurt somebody's feelings? What if I'm uncomfortable? And so something that I cite this band with helping me learn is how to kind of combat that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the future is wide open at this point. So if it happens, I'll definitely say, yeah, let's go. I'll jump.